Hi everyone. I hope everyone is well and you can all hear me properly. I'm KwaZulu-Natal and I'd like to greet the colleagues and the panel members and also welcome all our first year students that are joining us today. So in today's session, we will be doing a presentation on how to take notes and how to make notes. Hopefully, we hope that this session will not take long, given that it's Friday and you guys might have other plans as well. At the end of the presentation, we'll open up an opportunity to ask questions, whether they be based on the presentation itself or queries that has to do with your registration and yeah. So I will do the presentation for you guys and then we will take it from there on. Before I go on, let me just remind you that I'm KwaZulu-Natal and I am one of the FYE coordinators. We have two other FYE coordinators, Mr. Stabisom Konza and Ms. Petero, who are also here. And if you have a burning question while I'm speaking, you can put that question in the Q&A box and they'll be assisting you there and responding to your questions. All right. So let's start today. In today's presentation, I want to talk about note taking. Why is it important, and how do you take note, and what are the tips or what are the strategies that you can employ when you are taking your notes. Okay. All right. So one of the things that is apparent or is noticeable is that most students who come from high school and then transition to university life is that they do not know how to take notes, and that might be a challenge because they may not be able to understand the lecturers clearly. They may not be able to understand even the textbooks clearly when they are reading, simply because in high school students are not encouraged to take notes, but your educators or instructors, they come with notes that are already prepared for you. They write them on the board for you, and then you have to copy them down on your exercise book. Whereas at the university, it's the other way around. When you are listening to a lecturer or you are reading a textbook, you have to compile or take your notes so that you can be able to actually understand the content. So the skill of note taking is very important. It can prepare you for effective research writing or to excel in your exams when they do come, or your assignments or your test as well, because of that skill. So the purpose of this presentation today is to offer a variety of tips in terms of how you can effectively take notes, the basic notes methods that you can use, and other strategies that you can actually use whenever you are taking notes. So this presentation is based on a collected material from various sources and institutions, and we will provide a reference list at the end so that if you want to go and study more about these note-taking skills and methods that we will mention, then you will be able to do so. And we hope that you'll find this presentation to be effective and highly helpful to you. So the first question that we want to answer is, why take notes? Why is it important to take notes? So the first one is that whenever you are in a classroom or whenever you are in a lecture, sorry about that, the information that is presented to you by the lecturers is very important, because some of that information will appear in your exams, some of that information will appear in your quizzes, and some of that information will also appear in your assignments or tests, for instance. So when you are speaking about why it's important, you want to focus in terms of the notes that you have compiled. They become a storehouse of information for you. Okay, so it doesn't, or it's not easy for you as a student to forget information because you already have it compiled in a particular order or fashion. And whenever you want to revise or revisit some of the concepts, then you can go to your storehouse of information and then get the particular information and then use it. Now it saves time because if you are going to start making notes, because you are now studying for an exam, that may be strenuous to you. But if you have been taking notes throughout the semester, developing this storehouse or this filing system of your notes, by the exam time, it's easier for you to go back and just revise the information that is there rather than starting afresh and compiling notes, understanding them, and so on and so on. The other thing that is important with the note taking, so this was the second. The third one is that if you take notes during lecturers or whenever you are listening videos, you become an active listener and you become a critical thinker. Okay, so what does that mean? We have to know first what is a passive listener. So passive listening is what you do when you watch a sitcom or on television or have a conversation with have a casual conversation with someone. So when you're watching a series or on Netflix, you are being passively listening because you are not engaging in the conversation that is there. Or whenever you are having a casual conversation, you can be a passive listener because you have to give an opportunity to the other partner to actually listen to what you are saying. But an effective listener, on the other hand, is when you listen carefully to make sure that you understand and learn the information that is being conveyed. So that means when you are in a lecture session or a Zoom session, you have to really pay attention to what the lecturers are saying and what the classroom is actually saying as a whole, and understand it and learn that information and the way that is being conveyed. So you are not just listening for entertainment, but you are also listening for understanding. So if you look at this picture or on the other side, you know, you can, information comes to this guy in his ear, and then these machines, they show that while the information is coming through, at the back of his mind, he's busy analyzing the information and trying to understand that particular information that is being delivered at that particular time. So these are the three reasons why note taking is important. The information that is delivered by your teachers is very important. It serves as a storehouse of information. It makes you an active listener and a critical listener as well. Okay, moving on. Now, still, why take notes? So taking notes, it actually facilitates learning by becoming an effective learner. Okay, an effective learner is a learner that is involved in what they are learning. They are responsible for what they are learning. They are not just sitting there and listening to whatever is being said to them, but they actually engage. They are effective. They ask questions if they don't understand something. They give feedback on particular topics in the classroom. It's basically, to be an effective learner, that's where you become also a teacher in the classroom, in the sense that there are things that you may know that the educator do not know, and you can share those things, and actually it helps to develop the content and understand the content much more easier. Okay, so when you take notes, you will stay more focused because you want to be effective. You will be continuously analyzing information, and you'll be forced to think rapidly. So you won't just be accepting things that you hear and you do not know what they mean, but you will be forced to actually pay attention. All right. Notes help you remember information. I want to speak a little bit though about this table on the left, which was or can be found in the study by Walter Paul in how to study in college. So they collected information on how students or how many minutes it takes and how many days it takes for a student to forget something that they've learned in the classroom. And they divided the students into those who were taking notes and those that who were not taking notes during classrooms. So the table is for students who do not take notes in a lecture will lose information as follows. So after 20 minutes of attending a lesson, you will forget 47% of everything that you have had in that particular lesson, simply because you were not taking notes. And because you were not taking notes, you were not focused, you were not continuously analyzing, and you were not thinking rapidly. So imagine after 20 minutes, that means by the time, for instance, you move from your lecture hall to your residence or your accommodation, by the time you reach there, you have forgotten almost 50% of whatever you have learned in the classroom. After a day, 62% will be lost, will be forgotten. After 2 days, 69%. Okay, and then after 15 weeks, you will lose about 95% of what you have studied in the classroom. So, as lecturers are commencing next week, that means students who will not be taking notes, by the time exam comes or after 15 weeks or so, they will have forgotten 95% of whatever they've learned next week. Okay, and the other week and the other week as well. But students who take notes in the classroom, even though this table does not cover them, it's much difficult for them to actually lose information because they've been thoroughly engaged with information during the lecture classroom. All right, so let's move on to something else. So now you know why it's important to take notes in class. The next question is how to prepare for taking notes. So before you take notes, you need to prepare yourself. There are the three things that I'm going to mention. They have to do with your course or with the module that you have been registered for. So 1, 2, and 3, they have to do with the course. So the first thing is you have to review the course syllabus or the course outline as they are known at UKZN. Why are you reviewing it? You are looking for valuable information. So what is this valuable information you're looking for in your courses? You want to check the objectives of the course. So normally course outlines at UKZN, they tell you the objective of the course, that by the end of this course, this is what you should know and this is how you should apply it. So knowing that at the back of your mind that these are the objectives of the course will help you guide you in terms of which information you should focus on during the classroom and so on. You are also looking for main topics that will be covered in the course. You are also looking for the class established schedule, so that is your timetable and so on. And you are looking for dates for assignments, exams, and grading, and so on and so on. So always to take notes effectively, you need to be aware of what is expected of you in the module from the course outline. The second one is you have to determine the relationship between the class and the textbook, simply because sometimes what the lecturer says may not necessarily appear in the textbook, and simply because sometimes some lecturers, when they do their test, they prepare questions for test and everything, they will rely more on what is on the textbook, whereas some lecturers, they will rely more on what they have said on the lecture sessions. So you always have to pay attention. So whenever you're near a lecturer and the lecturer says something, note it down and then go and cross-check it with the textbook. How relevant is it in the textbook? Okay, but just keep that information because it may appear in the exam as well. Also, identify the kind of testing that you will engage with. Will you be doing multiple choice or short answer questions or essay questions? Okay, because how you study for these type of questions is different. If you are studying for multiple choice questions, you don't need to be detailed. But if you are studying for essays, That means you have to be very knowledgeable and very detailed about the topic that you are studying, because you will have to expand on that topic. Okay. All right. So those are the first things that you need to do in terms of preparing yourself for effective note taking. These ones now, they have to do not with the course that you are engaged with, but with you as a student and the people that are around you, or your attitude as the student. Okay, so in addition to the first three, what you need to have, find yourself a class buddy. Why do you have to find yourself a class buddy? Because if you miss a lecturer and your class buddy has not missed the lecturer, then you can get your notes from your buddy. You can borrow their exercise book and then copy from them. Just like how you were doing in high school, whenever you're going to be absent, you left your exercise with your friend, and then your friend will compile notes for both of you. So it's a similar case here at varsity as well. You can exchange cell phone numbers, or you can communicate via emails, but have a class buddy, someone that you know will help you with notes. They will remind you of assignments and everything. The other thing is, as you are going to be starting your lecturers next week, some of you will be having different feelings about the module or the educator that is in front of you. Okay, so some of you may feel positive and fascinated about the module that they will be taking. Okay, some of you may feel anxiety and a little bit of negativity in whatever you will be studying. The most important thing is to admit that I'm feeling this way about this particular module. Because if you admit how you feel, then you will be able to deal with those feelings and actually try and get over those feelings. Because, for instance, if you are feeling negative, then you will not be able to absorb the information. Your mind will be blocked. It cannot accept any information because it's anxious and it's feeling negative. So you need to acknowledge. You can tell your friends that, oh, my friend, I'm a little bit stressed about this module. When I was reading the course outline or listening to the lecture, I felt very overwhelmed about information. And by just talking, you'll definitely feel much better afterwards. So acknowledging how you feel is also a good way of preparing for how to take notes. The last one is adopt a questioning attitude. So these are the type of questions that you can ask yourself before any lecturer is what am I going to learn today? Usually the lecturer will have told you in the last session that this is what will be covered next week, or it's there on the course outline, or they've sent a notification. So if you know what you are going to learn today, then you are better prepared than someone who doesn't have an idea of what they are going to learn. So the second one is, how does this new information that I'm going to learn today fit into what I already know? Okay, so now you are linking it back to what you studied last week and so forth. Since next week it will be your first time, you can link it to what you have studied in high school. For instance, if you will be attending accounting, you can link whatever you'll be studying with what you know from high school and try and say, oh, I can understand this a little bit because we did something like that in high school and so on. Okay, so let's move on. Now, you know why it's important to take notes. You know how to take notes. Sorry, you know the preparations that you need to have before taking notes. The next thing is, how do you actually take notes now? Okay, so you can choose one of these methods of taking notes. You can choose the Cornell method, the outline note taking method, the mapping note taking method, the charting method, the sentences or paragraph note taking method. Now, for the remainder, okay, or maybe for the next minutes, I'm going to explain each and every method here. So I invite you to actually now really pay attention and really take notes if you have an exercise book, because these methods may not have the same appeal to each and every one of you. Some will fall in love with the Cornell method, some will fall in love with the Atlan method, and so on. But as long as we have a method of taking notes, that's the most crucial thing that we want to achieve here today. Now, let's start with the Cornell method. So what is it? It's a systematic format of condensing and organizing. So condensing means shrinking or making smaller, and then organizing notes without need for laborious recopying by dividing paper into specific sections. So with the Cornell note taking method, you can actually have half of your exercise book uh, speaking about the whole topic that you have studied that day, and it summarizes the most important ideas and what you need to remember for your exam and your test. Simply because this is based on condensing information, but it's not just we have notes randomly there and there. They are organized in a particular way, and your exercise book will actually help you in terms of how you can organize those notes. In this method, there is something we call R7 or the 7 R's. These are the R's that are important in terms of how you can utilize this method. Okay, so the first one is record. It simply means writing, recording the information as you hear it. Recalling, can you remember the information that you have recorded? Okay. Reduce, so can you reduce it? Can you take a huge amount of information and just put it in one word? Okay. Recapitulate, that just means to summarize. Can you summarize the information? Recite, can you tell someone else? So recite means, can you tell someone else about the information that you've studied today in your own words and in simple words? And then review, and then reflect. You reflect because you want to know how the information that you have learned relates with the whole module and with some of the things that you already know. Okay. So how will you actually do this? You have to take your exercise book and divide it into 3 sections. You have to have a 2-inch column on the left for cues. So cues, these are your main ideas. It's just one word or phrases, and then you divide. The next section will be a 6.5-inch section, which is the main space. Now this is where all the main information displays or appear, or where you write all the information. And then another 2-inch column where you will summarize. Okay, don't worry, I'll show you a template or a sample of how you can actually do this in your exercise book as well. So keep notes during class in the main space, so this space over there. Now, because the lecturer may be speaking faster than you are taking notes, so during class you don't have to focus on the column on the left and the column at the bottom. You only have to focus on the column which is called the main space, and you put your notes there. And then whenever the lecturer move on to a new point, you skip a few lines and then you start putting notes there. And then after the lecturer, you go back now to these other 2 columns. You summarize everything in the main space, and then you label it with your cues. So the main idea that you find to be important in those particular notes. Okay, to review, cover main sections with a card or with your hand. Say the main idea out loud, and then say as much as you can. See if it matches what you wrote. So recite whatever or any amount of information that you think you can recite, and see how much of it matches your notes that are in the main space. Simply because if you can say it, then you know it. But if you can't say it, then you don't know it. I hope that makes sense, but let's move on to examples, okay, or of the Cornell method. So I'm gonna draw it here so that we can all be able to understand a little bit better. We have an exercise book that is like that. So you have to have the first column here. That's your first 2-inch column. Okay. So what happens in this column? That's when you focus on your reducing skills. Okay. That's where you put your keywords, your phrases, or your cues on your main ideas. Okay. So if you were taking notes for today's section, your cue may be to say Cornell, because that's the main idea we want to learn right now. It's the Cornell note-taking method. Okay. Also, on this column, you also focus on reciting. Okay. So what can you find words that are much smaller that can actually summarize everything that you have learned? And then on this space over here, that's when you take most of your notes. That's where you make your own points, or take down the main points. So the other R's, they will fall here. You will record, they will fall there. Recall will be here. Review and reflect will be here as well, because it's the most lengthier part of your section. And then here in your third column, that's where you summarize now every information that you have learned, or that is relevant to that particular topic. Now, this is an example that I really like. So you can see there are 3 sections. There is this 2-inch column, there is the main column, and there is another 2-inch column. So here, the main ideas are listed here. Why take notes? Because you become an active learner, you become an effective learner. Who is the author that you can rely on? It's Walter Paul or Walter Park. Okay. How do you prepare? You focus on the syllabus, test questions, and the details you need to know, relationships of the textbook and what you have had in the class, and have a class buddy as well. So these are the main points. And then here, now you start making your notes, you are elaborating. Okay. So why? Lecturers share information, it serves as a file of information, and so on and so on. How to get ready. Now you are expanding, as you can see, and all your other R's are here, whereas here you have your reduce and recite R. Now you have all of this part. You can summarize every information here now. Okay, so note taking is important, is an important part of successful college studying. Students need to understand why and how good notes will help them get good grade. That's the summary of everything that is being said here. So you can also divide your exercise book like that and actually take notes. Now there is a term that I have not mentioned throughout this presentation that I want to introduce now, because it also links to note taking. So the first term is, we are speaking about note taking. The other term that corresponds to this is your note making. Okay, what's the difference? The difference is that note taking, the word take, it means that you are taking these notes from someone else. So you are taking them from your lecturer, because you are listening to a lecturer or you are listening to a video, for instance. But note making, it means you are not taking them from someone else, but you are making them yourself. Okay, you are alone and you are making them yourself. Now the Cornell method is very useful for combining these two techniques, because during class you use these columns for note taking. So everything that is here is what you are hearing from your lecturer. You are taking down things that you are hearing from your lecturer. And then on this column here, you make your own notes now. Maybe after the lecturer, you went to the textbook and started reading and you are discovering new information. You can also use this space to actually put that information and make your own notes and then compare them with the ones that you took during the classroom. All right, moving on. When to use the Cornell method in any lecture situation. Advantages: it's organized, it's systematic, uh, it's easy, it's simple, it saves time, okay, and do it right in the first place, and then you'll have all your information correctly stored in one place and you can always access it whenever you need it. Are there any disadvantages? Well, there are no disadvantages, except that if you are not paying attention in classroom, so you are busy texting, you are on WhatsApp during the lecture session, or you are busy chatting with your friends, then you will not be able to utilize this method, because as I've said, it requires that you focus on the lecturer and whatever is being taught in that particular day. Now, that's it about the Cornell method. Let's see if there's another method that we can utilize. So if you love this one, use it. It's the most popular one. I think at UKZN it's the most popular one, but there are other methods like the outline note taking method. So what is it? It's a method that starts with general information at the left of your exercise book, and then you include more specific facts and clarifications indented to the right. Okay? It simply means indented. It means you can have point A, which is your main point, that is note taking. And then indenting means you take a little bit of space to the side and then maybe you say, this is now point A, and then Cornell. Okay, and so on, and so on. And then under Cornell, you can have point Roman figure 1, and you say advantages. Okay, so you can see that your information will be flowing. We have the main point, which is not taking, we have the sub main point and other supporting points as well. So how does it work? The method, it focuses on listening and then writes down points in an organized pattern based on space and in the indentation. Okay, indentation is what I've just showed you on the left hand side. Place major points furthest to the left, so the closer to the left you should have your main points, and then indent each specific point to the right. So you start with your main point, sub main point and other supporting point, and they are all moving to the right. Okay, so level of importance of all your points will be indicated by the distance it is away from the major point or the main topic. Okay, so indentation is simple. You can do it by marking number, using numbers. You can just do spacing, or you can use more complex systems of indexing, such as using your Roman figures or Roman numerals, letters, and other decimals. All right. Now let's take an example. Okay, I'm not sure if it's clear. The font on this image is really small, but the point is to get the idea behind. Okay, so here we have Roman figure 1, which is the main topic or the main point, which is why take notes. And then we have minor or supporting points that are just a little bit to the right hand side of the major point, which is lecture give additional information, notes, serve as information for file. It facilitates learning. Okay. There are other supporting points, but they have little importance than these ones, and you can indent again. Now, arrows are used there and say you become an active learner, you become a critical learner. So these 2 points, they are supporting this sub point. Okay, and then you have another major point, which is how to prepare. We said you review syllabus. Under review syllabus, we have the points that we covered, which is grading, assignment dates, course objectives, and topics. We also held a relationship with what you learned in the class and the textbook. We also have determined the kind of testing that will be there, and these were the supporting points. We also have a body and pick a method, and all of these things, they were falling under how to prepare. Okay, so as you can see, these are our main points. Okay, and then these ones are our supporting points, and then these ones, they are more specific and they support the sub main points. Okay, so it's quite an easy method to use. It's very organized, and yeah, let's see what more we can say about this method. So when to use it: when a lecture is organized and sequential, so meaning that you know that what you studied today fits into what you're going to study tomorrow, or what you learn in this week fits in what you are going to learn in the following week, and so on. So your lectures are sequential like that, so you can use this information or this method as well. It also requires that there's enough time in the lecture to think about uh, how you are going to organize your main points and sub points and supporting points and so on. What are the advantages? It's organized, okay, if done correctly. It reduces the need to edit because, excuse me, all of the information is in point forms. Okay, it's not lengthy sentences as in your Cornell, but it's just in point forms. So the need to edit may be reduced in that sense. And main points are easy to turn into questions. So the main point is not taking. The question can be, what is the importance of not taking? So it's very easy to turn them into questions. Disadvantages: requires more thinking. It doesn't necessarily show, it may not show a relationship sometimes by sequence when needed, and doesn't lend to itself to variety of review and question applications. So its applications, when you are answering questions, it may be limited. All right. Let's take another method, the mapping note-taking method. What is it? It's a graphic means of representing information which relates to each fact idea to every other fact or idea. Okay, so it's more like a mind map. Let's just call it a mind map so that it's easier and we all know what you are talking about. So what is the method? How to use it? First, you have to determine the topic or the subject, write this title or topic at the center of the page and circle it. Okay, And then as your major facts or subheadings are presented that relates to the subject or topic, draw lines out from the circle and label those lines with your subheadings. As additional facts are presented that relates to each subheading, draw these lines linked to appropriate major fact and label them as well. Continue the process as more defining facts or ideas are presented as you are listening in your classroom. Here an example. Here the main topic is note taking. I'm sure you all know about mind maps, so we won't spend much here. But the main topic is note taking. What are the subheadings? Selecting a method. How to prepare. How to prepare, and the importance of taking notes. Okay. And here, under your select method, you have other facts or supporting points, which are we have types of note-taking methods: mapping, charting, Cornell, outline, and sentence or paragraph. There are other supporting notes for Cornell, which you can disadvantages and advantages there, and how to use this method using the 7 R's, and so on. Again, here there's other supporting information about how to use the outline method, and so on and so on. Here there is supporting information about how to prepare, reviewing syllabuses, finding class buddies, and so on and so on. Your mind map doesn't necessarily have to look like this one. You can do a simple mind map for the one that you love, and you can easily understand. The good thing about it is that it shows how each and everything relates to each other and fit back to your main topic. So I know sometimes, I'm sure you will experience this as a student, there is something that the lecturer will mention and you'll struggle to actually understand how does this thing fit into what we are learning here today. And using a mind map will actually help you to actually try and fit in everything and understand it's important in whatever is being taught in that particular day. When to use it? When the lecture content is well organized. Okay. You can't use it if a lecture just throws different information that and it doesn't show how all of this information links to one another. Okay. So when the lecture or the content is very organized, you can use the mapping method. It's also effective whenever you have a guest lecturer and have no idea what will be presented. Okay, so you have no idea what is going to happen in today's lecturer, so you can use the mapping method because you will just be writing main points and how they relate to one another. It's also very effective for visual learners. Okay, some people they learn by hearing. Okay, they just sit and listen, and then they've learned whatever they've heard. It's easier to understand and remember. Some people they learn by observing, so it's not enough to just speak to them, but you have to demonstrate to them. So if it's a calculation, you have to demonstrate how the calculation is done to them, and then they will learn it. And then some people are visual learners, so if you just have equations and a lot of words, they really don't understand anything. But once there's a graph, a picture, then they are inspired, they are fascinated, and they can actually learn much quicker. So if you know that you're a visual learner, this is a good method for you. Advantages: helps you keep a visual track of all your lecturer or your sessions. It's easy to see the relationships between different points. Okay, and cover lines, those lines that you have shown, they are good for memory review and also showing relationships. Disadvantages: you may not hear changes in content from major points. to facts. Okay, so sometimes you may not, because like I've said, your lecturer is speaking faster than you're writing down. You may not hear some of the facts that support the major points, so you may miss out on those information as well. And it can be overwhelming to try and understand and put each and every information in that particular order as well. All right, let's move on to another method. Charting note-taking method. Okay, what is it? You are using columns with appropriate heading labels in a table format, i.e., or you are focusing in the chronological order of the information that is presented to you. So these columns, they depend on which information comes first, but each and every particular column focuses on a particular point and a particular information. How to use the method? Determine categories that are covered in the lecturer. So these categories, they become your headings, heading labels. Set a paper ahead of time by drawing columns with the determined categories as headings for each, and then place information in the appropriate columns. So this means before you attend the lecturer, you have to read the course outline so that you know that in today's session, these are the topics, the main categories that will be covered, and then you create those categories, and then you just go to the lecturer to fill up the information. Some of you will come across lecturers. I don't know if they are there in other schools or disciplines, but especially in the School of Economics, you will come across lecturers that will give you beforehand something that has categories already. So they'll give you a paper that has categories already. Maybe they'll have a column that says definition, example, and all you have to do now is try and fill up those categories during your lecture session. And usually those lecturers that do the thing, they treat it as a compulsory thing in terms of their lecture halls. But if they are not doing it and you think it's a useful method, you can also do it on your own. So here's an example. Okay, here's the first column. I'm sure you can see it. Oh, sorry, here's the first column. The first column is, it has the methods. We have the Cornell and we have the outline method. Another column focuses on the process. Okay, and here's the process that you have to follow when you are using the Cornell, and the process that you have to follow when you are using the outline. Here's a column for disadvantages and advantages, and so on and so on. Here is a column for when, and so on and so on. Another example, you can have a, let's say you are studying history. Okay, so you can have a column for period. You can have a column for important people. You can have a column for events, and you can have a column for significant. So this is just an easy way of organizing information as well. All right, let's see what more we can say. When to use it. When test will focus on both facts and relationships. When you want an overview on one piece of paper. So when you want an overview of everything in that particular topic on one piece of paper, you can use the charting method. Advantages: it reduces the amount of writing needed. It provides an easy review mechanism. It facilitates both memorization and the comparison of facts in terms of how these facts relate to each other. Disadvantage: you need to know the different categories that will actually appear beforehand, and it means you must fully engage in your lecturer, so you must fully pay attention in the lecture. All right, let's take, I think it's the last method, which is the sentence or paragraph note taking method. Okay, what is it? You record, it's a record of complete thoughts and concepts. So you just write it down in sentences or paragraphs. How to use it? You write every new thought, fact, or topic presented in a sentence. You use a new line for each new thought or fact, and then you also number your paragraphs and lines as you move down. That's important to number everything down. Here is an example. Okay. Firstly, these are the sentences, and you can see here they are numbered. This is the first sentence, it's numbered 1. This is the second sentence, it's numbered 2. Okay, so number thoughts, facts, or ideas. So what it means is that since this is number 1, it means its focus is on a particular thought or on a particular fact or on a particular idea. And this one as well. So here the thought is we take notes when instructors, instructors offers new ideas to facilitate learning or remember information. The point here, the thought here is to take notes, need to prepare. You review your syllabus, compare text, book and classes, identify test types, and so on and so on. Another thing that you can use with this method is that you can use abbreviations. Okay, so as you can see here, instead of writing instructor, we've written instruct because we're trying to save time and to save space as well. Here, instead of review, we just used rev, and so on and so on. Okay, so this is very important. Other abbreviations that you can use, if you wanted to say something increases, okay, there is no need for you to write increase. You can just write an upward error, okay? Or if it's decrease, you can just write downward error. Or it causes, you want to say something causes something else. You don't have to write causes. You can just write this error, which links whatever is on the side and with that side. So it means this causes that. And you have saved your space and you have saved some time as well in the process. When to use this method? When lecture is somewhat organized, when there is heavy content, it comes fast and it comes very fast, meaning that there is too much content that is going to be covered in a particular day, and it will be covered very fast, so you can use this method. And if a lecturer is already presenting points in an orderly fashion, so you can also use this method as well. Advantages: it gets more or all of the information. Disadvantages: you can't determine major versus minor points from the numbered sequence, and it's difficult to edit without having to totally rewrite each and everything that you have written at that particular time. I think that's it about study methods. Now, to close the session, let's just take some tips, basic tips that you also need to use. First one is concentrate. Concentrate on lecturer, what they are saying, or reading the textbook. The second one is take, which means take notes selectively. Do not try to write each and every word. So don't try and write each and every word the lecturer is saying. I know there is a meme. Is it a meme? Yes. That shows a first year sitting in a classroom, and then the lecturer just says, "Greetings, everyone," and the student is already taking notes. So the student is basically writing down, "Greetings, everyone." So don't do that. Just focus on the main points that are important. Normally, in a lecture, the teacher will say around 125 to 140 words per minute. And you cannot write all of these words down in a minute. You only have to focus on writing down at least 25 words per minute as the student. Number 3, do not repeat the exact words from the lecturer. Use your own words. It's easier to remember your own words than to remember someone else's words. Number 4, be brief. Okay, don't try and write a very lengthy sentence. Just be brief, as long as you've covered your major points and important information. Number 5, write clearly. So you have to train your handwriting so that you can actually see what you have done or you have written down. Number 6, do not worry about grammar and spelling. These are notes. No one will check them. They are only for you to read. So don't worry about grammar or spelling. These are some of the basic notes. Let's see if there are other notes. Tips. How to know what to write. Okay. So I'm in a lecturer and the lecturer is saying many things. So how do I know which ones should I write and which ones should I not write? The first tip is that the lecturer usually pauses before or after an important idea. So look for those pauses and then you will know that what follows next might be something important. Number 2, lecturers tend to write important ideas on the board. So I think we have been noticing that throughout this presentation, I've been circling some things or highlighting some things or underlining some things. Those things are the main points and ideas that I wanted you guys to focus on or remember the most. So even in your lecturer, they may be doing something like that, or they may be writing something on the board. Those are the most important things. Okay. Lecturers often use repetition. So if something is repeated, it simply means that it's important. Most lecturers use introductory phrases. They will say a point to remember. Okay. If it's a point to remember, it means it's important. Or they will say a critical consideration. That means it's important to remember whatever they're going to say next. What else? How to know what to write? Okay. The first one is mark. So you need to mark ideas emphasized in the lecture with an arrow or other special symbols. Okay. So like here, this is the most important idea, which is to mark something down. So the symbol I've used is I've circled it. Someone else might write a star like that to indicate that it's an important symbol or point or topic. Okay. The second one is take down. So you need to take down examples which the instructor or the lecturer presents and note them with an example. Okay. So at the end of each and every example, just write EX to show that it was an example. Pay doesn't mean pay money, it means pay attention to transitional words and phrases. So listen to words such as therefore, finally, furthermore. Everything that comes after therefore, finally, and furthermore, it might be something important. So pay attention to these phrases as well. All right. How to know what to write as well. So these are the more phrases that you need to consider or listen for. For instance, there are 3 reasons why. So the 3 reasons why are important. You need to note them down. Some paragraphs or sentences will start with first, second, third. Immediately you see those words, it means that you are reading something important or you are hearing something important. And most obviously, if someone says and most important or a major development, it means that they are speaking about something important. There are other words that indicate supporting material, such as on the other hand, for example, for instance, similarly, also, furthermore, in contrast. So these are words that indicate that the material that will come after this word is a supporting material, so it may be relevant in terms of supporting your main points. Some of the other words that you need to use or listen to as well. These are words that signal that someone is concluding or summarizing something, such as therefore, in conclusion, as a result, finally, in summary. From this we can see. If someone says these words, it means whatever they are saying is very important. Now, this is important. Remember that the important idea is that the basic concept is that these are also important things to pay attention to so that you can remember much easily. In conclusion, in everything that I've just said, note taking, sorry, note taking is a critical college or university success skill. The more you practice, the more proficient you will become. If you select a method and use it often, you can really improve your techniques. With good note-taking techniques, you will soon be able to record the fastest. You'll soon be able to record the fastest instructor. So the fastest lecturer will not intimidate you to your satisfaction, and have a great study tool to use when preparing for your assignments and exams. Study skill. So this is the references. So in case you need more additional information in terms of this whole presentation, you can read these textbooks. Ellis Dave, Becoming a Master Student, or Garden JN and Jwala AG, Your College Experience Strategies. These are the websites that you can visit as well for more information. Okay, so that at the end of the day, you are equipped with information. All right. I noticed that because I'm done with my presentation, I noticed that there was a student who has raised their hand. Can you please go on and ask your question, or was it just a mistake? All right. At this point in time, I would like to give my colleagues an opportunity as well to actually say something. We will start with Prim. If you are still here and you'd like to add something, can you please go on, and then Petejo and Stabis as well will also make some additional comments as well.
Thank you, Kwazi. Thank you for the wonderful presentation. It was deep, it was insightful, lots of things for the students to focus on and absorb. So what they must do now is they must apply what you've described and discussed and introduce them to. They must please now apply it from next week when their lectures start. And even when the tutorials start, they must be busy taking notes as busy bees. We must just see those fingers flying across that keyboard there, whether it's on their smartphone, they, punching along there, whether it's on their laptop or their iPad. They need to have those fingers moving and always, always making notes. Thank you so much. I hand over to Petejo, my dear. You can take over.
Thank you, Prim, and thank you, Kwazi, for insightful presentation. It was, how I wish someone told me all about this a long time ago when we were still first years and everything. Because I remember we used to be those typical students. Whenever the lecturer comes in class and say, good morning, everyone, we're already taking notes and writing good morning up until the last word the lecturer says. And in terms of the notes taking, we were actually copying everything from the slides as they are to our exercise books. And it was really hard to summarize from those, to make a summary of those. So it was really insightful. And how I wish someone actually told me all this. Most of the questions that I saw there are actually from the tutorials. They said, what is a tutorial? A tutorial actually it's more like a homework that you used to get from high school. Remember, the teacher will come to class and actually explain the concept and do everything in class. And then after that, the teacher will actually give you homework based on what you actually learned from class. So it's actually the same thing. The lecturer will get in class and explain the concept or the material from whichever the topic you'll be doing. And then after that, the questions for tutorials will actually be coming from the concept that you guys covered in class. The other thing, the difference between a tutor and a lecturer is that a tutor actually, remember in class, you actually hearing the concept or the material for the first time. And then when you go to the tutorial, at least you had time to digest what the lecturer actually taught you. So when you go to the tutorial and you meet with your tutor will actually help you understand more from what the lecturer said. So usually when you go into the tutorial, you had the material and then they gave you the questions. So you actually go to your material and then make some notes. Whichever maybe your lecturer says something and you didn't understand, and you actually didn't know that you didn't understand in class. But when you went home to actually go through your material, you realize that, no, actually, I didn't understand this concept. So you take notes and then you ask the questions to your tutor before you can actually answer the questions that were given. So the tutor will give you a chance to actually ask any question from the material on as a whole. And then after that, you're gonna go through the questions that were given based on the material. So that's actually the difference between a tutor and a lecturer. A lecturer gives you the material for the first time, and you they give you everything that needs to be known. And then when you go to the tutor, it's more of summarizing of what actually happened during the lecture. So that's the difference between the two. So tutorials is actually your homework here at university. And the other difference is that the lecturer is actually teaching everyone all at the same time. But with the tutor actually deals with a little number or maybe a small group of people, unlike having to have the whole class in one tutorial class. So that's the other difference between the lecture and the tutorials. So yeah, that's basically that. Unless if maybe there's still something that you don't understand when it comes to tutorial. Oh, and the other thing, the tutorials are not in the first week of the semester, because remember the lecturer needs to go through the material first before you can have the homework. So first week, it's actually the lecturers going through the material or the concept for that module. And then in the following week, or maybe the third week, it depends on the individual lecturer also. So that's when they'll give you the homework. So, and the other thing that you should take note of is that those tutorial questions, they're actually posted, it's either on Moodle or on emails. So it depends. You need to check your announcements, and also you need to check your emails to get to be alerted on when is the tutorial and how to attend those tutorials and the questions for that tutorial. So yeah, good morning. What should you do if your lectures somehow they clash, even though you solve this room, for instance, because lectures take place on Wednesday, my other modules. In terms of timetable clashing, one thing I know is that you need to check your blocks. And the other thing is that if maybe your electives are clashing with your main, that's something you should actually address in class with your lectures and try to change the electives, or because you can attend electives instead of the majors. Your majors doesn't need to clash with your electives. So yeah, just try to change your blocks, your timetable blocks, and try to see if maybe it doesn't clash anymore. I don't see any other question. Will the textbook cover the content tested Yes, yes. Remember, tutorials, it's based on the material that you covered in class. So it's usually from that. What are electives? Electives is the modules that are not compulsory, or that are the modules which are not the core modules for your degree. So those are the electives. It's the modules that you do but are not core modules for your degree. Are we able to now access timetables, or will it be available shortly? The other thing about timetables, you even when you go to your models, and to your your modules, the lecturer actually do write their time slots for their classes. So you can actually compile, if you can't do a timetable, you can actually compile from your tutorials, say from your model or your modules, and then check which time is each and every module, and then try to compile your timetable from their times. The quizzes, the same as tutorials. The quizzes is more of a test. So they are not really, because in terms of the quizzes, there are some of the quizzes the lecturer set them to actually help you understand the material, but some of the quizzes, they actually do contribute to your DP. Remember, we talked about the dual performance, which actually gets to your final mark. So you need to be aware of that. But tutorials, it's actually more of a practice, and some of the tutorials they are going to be part of your DP. So you need to be aware of that and actually check your course outline, which to check which forms part of your DP and which doesn't. I'm struggling to create my learn password. I follow all the instruction correctly, but it still doesn't work. What can I do? Because I cannot access Moodle. Please email them. It's IT student help. Something, yeah, I think it's IT student help. Please email them. They will be able to assist you. Or maybe you can do forgot password and then try to recreate a new password. What happens if two modules have tests on the same day and time? In terms of that, when it happens, that most especially this happens if you have elective and the core modules. So it might be that your elective and your core module clash with that. Please alert your lecturer way like in time, so that maybe if there's an arrangement that could be made, they can make arrangement for you in time. Let me see. Are we able to now accept? Okay. Where would you find the quizzes? The quizzes are actually on Moodle, and the moment your lecturer posts them, they will alert you either on announcements or via emails. So you will be aware of that. It's not something that I'm a bit confused about the timetable. Are they out yet? Remember, the timetable is not like there's gonna be a time where they say, this is your timetable. Here at university, you create your own timetable. Unless for foundation, I know that they create a timetable for them. But if you are in the mainstream, if you are doing your BCom accounting, BCom general, B admin, as long as you're in the mainstream, you create your own timetable. They don't, lecturers don't create a timetable for you. That's why I'm saying that alternative, if you're not sure on how to create timetables, your mentors will help you. But the alternative is that you can actually go to each and every module, check their time slots, and then create your own timetable from that time slots. My second semester courses don't show up on Learn. Yes, they don't show up because it's still first semester now. You'll get to see them second semester when your lecturers get to post them on Moodle. Christopher, I cannot see one of my modules. Is it possible the lecturers have not made it visible to us yet? Yes, that might be a possibility, as long as you are sure that on your registration, the module is there. then it means that the lecturer hasn't made it visible to you guys. Okay, I got an invitation to get my student card on the 11th, but I misunderstood the email, so I didn't get my card. Where can I email to request for another permit? The permit, remember, it's for the fact that the permit said you need to be at school on the 11th. It doesn't mean that you need to be there on the exact date. You can come anytime, even after that date. So it's not a daily. The permits are not a daily thing, so you can use it even after that. You can even come 3 months after that. It's still gonna be valid, unless if it did strictly say that it's only for a day. That's where you will have to reapply for another one. But what I know is that most permits, most requests to come to campus, they are actually, you can use it for the rest. We usually use them for the rest of the year. Although, like that day,
Peteko, are you still there, or is it just me on my side?
I also can't hear Petejo now.
Okay, probably there was something wrong with her network. Let me continue to answer some of the questions. How do we get invited? How do we get invited to get student cards? I've never been informed about it. Well, if you wanted to make a student card, firstly you need to apply for permit to return on campus, and thereafter, once you have been granted permit to return on campus, you can then come and make your student card with the RMS services. Yeah, so I'll try and see while I'm answering if I can get the link that you can use to actually go and apply for permit to come back to campus at UKZN. The other question is, I changed my curriculum a while back, but the modules that I changed are still visible on Moodle. Will they just stay there? It may take some time before actually they disappear on your module, and it also goes that the modules that you have registered for, it may also take some time for them to actually appear on module. Usually it's about 48 hours delay, but after that you should be sorted out. Okay. The other question is, do we need to apply for permits in order to make our student card? Yes, because you need to make your student card on campus, and therefore you cannot come on campus if you do not have a permit. You need to have access actually to come on campus. So the link that you can use for applying the permit, I've sent it to everyone. You can just click on the link and then fill up your details there, and then just wait for someone to actually approve and give you that permit that you want. Should we pay extra fees to use the gym and other sort related activities? Yes, for the gym and for other sports services that are offered at UKZN, you do have to pay extra that is not covered by or that is not part of your fees. It's not a big amount. The last time I checked, gym at UKZN was around 500 to something for the whole year, and other activities such as sport were around 200 to 150, but that was a long time ago. But it's not a big money. You will definitely have to pay for those facilities as well. Is making audio tapes a good way of taking notes? You record it in class, then listen it at home. Yes. That's another very good method of taking notes. Actually, some of the people that I know, they actually use it. So you just click on your cell phone and you record that particular point that you want to record, or that particular information that you want to record, and then you can listen it back to whenever you're at home. One of the things that I found to be useful during COVID-19 or this period of online learning is that you can actually treat the videos, your lecture videos, as music. Okay, so while you are cleaning or doing some chores at home, just put on your headphones and your cell phone and then listen to your lecture while you are doing your chores, and use it as a form of music, and that way you will be able to retain most of the information that you are listening to, and at the same time you are multitasking and doing some other things on the side. Will we have to complete the all FYE course before the 25th of February, or is it a module that we do it at our pace? Tim, can you please respond to this question? Prim, are you still there?
Yes, I can hear you, Kwazi.
Okay, so can you assist with this question? It says, will we have to complete the whole FYE course before the 25th of February, or is it a module that we do at our pace?
No, the FYE program is scheduled for the whole year. So there will be sessions every Wednesday and Friday, and then you will see the links that the FYE coordinators will send to the students, but it's for the entire year. Obviously, when the university goes on holiday, July and Easter, they will usually nothing will be run. So it's during the semester weeks, which is usually 13 to 14 weeks per semester for semester 1, and 13 to 14 weeks for semester 2. So it will be run throughout the year. So I want you all to relax, breathe in, attend the sessions, enjoy the sessions, take whatever you're learning and apply it to your work in your lectures, your tuts and your pracs. Thanks, Kwazi.
Thank you so much, Prim. Some of the questions are saying, I'm a bit confused about the timetables. Are they out yet? Yes, the timetables should be out by now, so you can find them on your timetable finder. But the advice that I'd love to give you guys is that the slots that you find on the timetables may not necessarily be the same slots as the one that the lecturers will be using. For instance, on the timetable finder, you may find that for Accounting 101, for instance, there are 5 slots in a week. So there are 5 lecture sessions in a week. But because we are doing everything online, the lecturer may actually pick 3 out of those slots and say, I'm available, I'll be conducting lectures on these 3 slots out of these 5 slots. So the best thing to do is that, fine, do your timetable with timetable finder, but also check your notifications or your Moodle notification for that particular module, so that you can actually see which ones are actually being used by that particular lecturer. Normally that information is on the notifications on LEARN. It's also written down on the course lab outline in terms of which slots are being used by the lecturer. And sometimes you may find that in some modules, or one module may be taught by 3 different people. So person A, lecture A teaches the first section, section A, lecture B teaches section B, and lecture C teaches section C. And these lecturers, they may actually use different time slots, but they are still based on that timetable that you found on timetable founder. So lecture 1 may say I'm using slot 1, 2, and 3. Lecture 2 may say I'm using slot 2, 4, and 5. And lecture 3 may say I'm using slot 1, 3, and 4. So it's always important again to actually verify each and every information with what is there on the course outline and what the notifications are saying on Moodle. Do you have to stick to the timetable blocks that you picked in registration? Yes, you do have to stick to those timetable blocks, because if you now go and pick another timetable block on timetable finder, you may find that it's clashing with other modules. and you may be in a little bit of a trouble trying to attend two modules at the same time. So stick to the timetable blocks that you actually picked. I understand that the lecturers will provide consultation times for when lecturers will take place on Moodle, but are the timetables online updated? I think I've already covered this question when I was answering the question about timetables. I have 3 courses for maths on Moodle. Is this correct? It's for the same module. Well, because the courses that you find online, they are put there by your lecturers. So it may be that there is a mistake, or it may be that they are put there by purpose. Okay, so for instance, sometimes the lecturers will have different courses for different campuses. So they will have a course, the same maths course for the PNB campus, the same maths course for the Westville campus, and then you have another third course, which is a mother course, which covers both campuses or all campuses. And so it's a possibility as well. So what I would advise is that just contact your lecturer and communicate with them and ask them, out of those 3 courses that you have on module, which one will you be using? So mention your student number and everything when you are contacting your lecturer. All right. I don't see any other questions either on the chat or the Q&A. But I would still love to receive some questions. So if there are students who have some questions again, can you kindly unmute yourself and just ask your question, and then we'll try to address it there. Or alternatively, you can write on the chat.
Attendees, please raise your hand if you would like to ask a question, and I will unmute you. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Rakshika. Okay, there is another question that says, will we ever be called to classes, or will all classes be by online? Currently, all lecturers are online, especially within our college. In other colleges, such as the College of Science or Health Sciences, they may go to campus to do practicals and so on. But currently, within our college, all lecturers are either will be conducted via Zoom or via Teams, Microsoft Teams. In case that the situation changes and we have to come to classes, you will be notified via email, so you don't have to worry about that. The other question is, when I applied through the CEO, I indicated that I needed rest, but I got an offer without it. So what can I do to get residence? So, well, I will advise that we have to follow up with the Department of Housing or Student Housing and check if indeed they did receive your resident application, and also check the status of that application. So let's try and find some information that we can use to actually conduct housing. I know that you will have to contact, maybe it will be Elizabeth from the Department of Housing or Sis Tandy, but by the end of this session I will have written down their contact details for you so that you can check and do a follow-up. How will we be able to attend FYE sessions and lectures at the same time? Usually the FYE sessions like these ones, when we prepare them or when they are organized, we do consider that students, they lecturers, so we do have access to all the timetables for each and every module, and then we try and pick a slot that where most of the students are actually not attending, or all students are not attending at that particular time, and then we conduct our sessions during that time. Yeah, so you don't have to worry about clashes and so on. Another question is the timetables and weekly succession plan that we submit to our mentors, should it be different for our peer academic for our peer mentors and academic mentors? Not necessarily. It doesn't have to be different, especially the timetable. It's the same timetable that you submit, whether it's a peer academic mentor or a peer wellness mentor. A plan of success also, it doesn't necessarily have to be different, but depending on your conversation with your mentor and the targets that you have set for yourself, it may have to differ a little bit, but it doesn't necessarily have to differ. I'm saying so because the peer academic mentor actually focuses more on the academic side of things. So you may have some academic goals, okay, that are different from your wellness goals or your health goals at the end of the day. So yeah, it may have to be a little bit different in that sense, but it's not compulsory that they are different in anyhow. Let's check another question. Will we return to campus in the second semester, or will we continue until the end of the year? Unfortunately for that one, we will have to wait for communication from our vice chancellors, and then they are the ones who will let us know when we are coming back to campus. I can't say we are right now. A lot can happen between now and the second semester, but communication will come at the relevant time in terms of where, yeah, in terms of when are we coming back to campus and so on. All right, another question. Are there strikes occurring at PMB as well as in Howard impacting the return to campus proceedings? I don't think so. This semester, we are not coming back to campus, whether there were strikes or no strikes. We were not coming back to campus. Everything was going to be done online. So I don't think that the strikes are actually affecting the proceedings of coming back to campus. They are definitely affecting the academic program because some of the students that needs to access campuses so that they can access Wi-Fi and attend lecturers, they are not able to do so. So they are affecting the academic program a little bit, but not the campus proceedings. Okay, I don't see any other questions. Peteko, I see that you are back. Before we close, is there any other information that you'd like to relay to the students?
Thank you, Kwazi. I was kicked out, so I don't know what's happened with our router, but yeah, I was kicked out, and thank you for taking over. I saw a question saying that so there is a much need to get to rest. When you want to come to rest, actually, it's for those who are actually having the difficulties in studying at home, maybe the issues of network, the environment, if the environment is not conducive enough for you to actually study and all those things, that's where there's actually a need to come to rest. And the advantages is that at rest, you get your own space. It's actually a conducive space to study, and also in terms of the connection, you get the Wi-Fi and everything. So it's up to you. As long as your environment is conducive for you enough to study, then yeah, you might not see the need to actually come back. Okay, the questions are still continuing, Kwazi. Our registration fee included in our annual fees. It depends. If you have if you have the scholarship, bursary, or any financial aid, then yes, your registration will be included in your thingy, in your annual fees. So whoever is paying for your fees will actually pay for your will cover your registration and also your school fees. Someone says that so that means for the first semester we should stay home if no need for us. Yes, you are welcome to stay at home as long as it's conducive enough for you to actually do your studies. Will we need to return to campus for practicals such as ISTN 101 or actually for our college, we actually doing everything online. So there's no need to come to campus for any of our practicals because everything is literally online the whole semester. I'm not sure, like Kwazi said, I'm not sure about second semester what would actually happen, but in the meantime, everything is online. Even the practicals, you'll do your practicals online. I think, yeah, that was that, unless if maybe I forgot something, but I feel like we covered everything. What happens if we are having internet connection issues during the test? It's your responsibility to alert your lecturers in time. Don't wait maybe until tomorrow or until whenever they release the marks and be like, my apologies. The reason why I failed this test, it was because I had internet issues on the day. So immediately, whenever you're experiencing anything, we do understand that there will be technical issues, there will be a lot of things, and we're not even sure whether the load shedding will come back. So whenever you experience any difficulties or any technical issues during your test, please inform your lecturers immediately or as soon as you can, or you can alternatively, I think each and every module, we do have the class reps or class representatives. So inform your class representative and also email your lecturer as soon as you can. If students return to campus while they be sharing of rooms, what is the proceedings when exams take place online? You can actually, when you are at rest, it means that you can come to campus anytime. There are buses from each and every residence to campus. So if you feel like you can't write your exam with your roommate, for those who will be sharing, just take your stuff and go to the library, go to the LAN or any of the places at the campus and go and write your exam. So there are a lot of quiet places around campus for you to actually do that, to write your exams online. Will we be told which textbooks to buy? Yes, each and every lecturer will tell you the prescribed textbooks on your model outline. On your course outline. So please check that. And if you're still not sure which textbook is it, you can actually ask those questions during your lectures. Yeah, I think we covered almost all the questions. Oh, let me check the Q&A. Do we need to get a permit to access sport facilities, or is it still cancelled? In terms of sports, actually, whether regardless of what you do, you're coming to do on campus, you're gonna need your permit. So make sure that you have your permit all the time. And actually, it's there on your smartphone. So it's just a matter of showing the securities whenever you get to the gate. So you need your permit. Your permit actually allows you to access any facility on campus. Whether you go into the library, LAN, or sports facilities, you're gonna need your permit. I'm not sure if all the sports codes are still cancelled, but I know that some of them are actually taking place this year. The student card is required as a document for NSFAS bank detail form. My permit was rejected, so when will I receive an invite? In terms of rejection, is there any of the first years who got approved for this thing, for permit? Just say yes or something on the chat so that we can see if is it an individual thing or everyone is experiencing the same thing. Oh, so there are people who were able to get approved. I'm not sure. Prim, I'm not sure if Prim is still here. What could be the issue, like in terms of the rejection in when you're applying for permit? If you know, please help. Prim, are you still here? Kwazi, do you know what could be the issue in terms of the application rejection?
For permits.
Yes.
Okay, Prem is still with us. I'm sure she will add some information, but I think they consider many factors. They consider, do you come from rural areas or from an urban area? Are you a first year, second year, or a third year? The modules that you are doing, do they require a lot of internet for you to, or a lot of data for you, or it's just you need less internet or less access to internet. They also consider your student needs as well. So if you say you come from a family, for instance, where you are being abused physically, then you actually get you become the priority to receive a particular permit. But if you come from an environment whereby you are safe and so on and so on, then I'm not saying that you may be rejected, but I'm saying those are all the factors that are being considered, that may be considered as to actually whether you fail because you live in urban areas or rural areas. I really can't say much because we are not involved in that process of granting permits.
Okay, thank you, Kwazi. Oh, so okay, okay. But in terms of NSFAS, I think in the meantime you can submit your proof of registration and then do explain that you can't access campus to do your student card due to various reasons, like for example being your permit was rejected, so you couldn't access campus to do your student card. Maybe they will actually help you on which procedure to follow from there on. So I think we covered almost everything. Am I forgetting something? I think
we covered most.
Yeah. Do we have any information where we can buy secondhand books? Usually on this thing on Student Central homepage, there are people who are actually posting which books they are selling in terms of secondhand books. So you can just go to Student Central homepage and then you can check those announcements where people are actually selling their secondhand book and see if you can find any. Yeah, I think, yeah. Who can I email to ask for another permit? I'm not quite sure because we all applying there online. So that one, maybe your mentor will actually come back to you once we can get when we get something. We'll alert the mentors and to alert you guys. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think we covered everything. Unless.
Thanks so much, Peteko. I would just like to advise students that if they still have some questions, they can ask those questions to their mentors who will be there to actually assist them, or they can actually ask us as FYE coordinators directly. Yeah, I think by now everyone should have our emails. If they do not, they can also get them from the mentors, and we will be able to assist students from there. Thank you so much to all the students who attended today's sessions, and thank you so much to the colleagues as well, Hazel, Rakshika, Prim, and Petejo. I think we have come to the end of our session. Thank you so much, guys. May you all have a lovely weekend.